Hi, guys. Welcome back to a new episode of A Million Minds podcast with Anita and Hirot. Thank you for making it with us. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
Good.
A little bit tired though, but I think it's the humidity getting to me.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think humid weathers make you more tired
Yeah. Yeah, it
than
does.
just hot weathers. Like hot and humid makes you more tired.
Definitely. Everyone is saying that this summer, Dubai's weather is better, you know?
Well, yeah, I heard that too. Some people say, but sometimes it's an illusion.
No, but actually, I felt it that it's better every single day except today.
When I was living in London, a lot of winters, I heard people say, "Oh, this winter is better."
Yeah.
But this is like, so this is how it is. People talk about how cold it is all the time, and then it's not actually that cold any winter,
Mm.
right? So every winter you think, oh, this winter seems better, you know.
Yeah.
It's the opposite case here.
Yeah.
Everyone, it's a Middle
Yeah.
Eastern country, so everyone knows it's a hot country in the summer, and people are like, oh my god, the summer is gonna be
Terrible.
insane.
Hmm.
Yeah, but then it's not as bad. So then every year people are like, oh, this is okay. But if you go statistic, this doesn't prove it. We just had the hottest day in the past, I think, 10 years or forever of Dubai recorded this month. How is
Mm.
how is it cooler?
But to be honest with you, I feel it. That because I've been in Dubai before in summer, and it was way hotter than this, and this year is better. From
Okay.
what I felt personally.
Yeah.
Now that everyone else is feeling it or not, it might be the case because I know in London it was like that everyone was saying, this winter is the worst. Well,
It's the
every
same.
winter is
Even
the
in
worst.
Australia, it's the same.
Mm.
They say it's gonna be so hot, then you get these few days of, I give you a better example. Everyone says in Sevilla you don't get rain. It's crazy to have rain in winter. Okay, last year I was talking to someone who lives in Sevilla for many years, family relative, and he told me, Sevilla, this is not Sevilla. Never in history of Sevilla. So he said this 2024. 2025, he repeated the sentence. He said, never. Well, you cannot say never because you just last year you told me never. So every year it's flooding and you say never. It's raining. It's
It's
happening.
true. It's true. No, we do get some rain in
Yeah.
Sevilla in the winter, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah.
So, anyways.
I don't know how it was, but I don't really agree. It's very hot, of course, in the summer, and we have many months of summer, like from March to November, pretty much.
Yeah.
But we can get very cold, and
It gets very
it
cold.
gets very cold,
Yeah.
and it gets rain, you
Yeah.
know, and bad weather
Like
many days in a row.
rains that for I know people wanted to do renovations on their house. It took them 2 months. They couldn't do anything because of the rain.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so not just one day, 2 days, 2 months. Well,
Well, two
welcome to the
months is
conversation. That is the
that's
season.
that's the whole winter.
how much do you expect it to go on?
That's the whole winter. That's true. Okay, but we have something to talk about today, which is the pressure cooker of people that who are in their 20s and 30s, right? Like getting married, getting a good career, which has always been there, but I feel like now in these years, in this decade, it's like more than ever because there is more and more people as well. So let's talk about it. Okay. Where do you think the pressure comes from?
Every single direction. Uh,
No, but is it like, for example, cultural or cultural expectations or, comparison to our parents, or what is it?
well, all of it. So the two go hand in hand. So I think the pressure mostly comes from parents because they have achieved certain things in a different time, in a different era, and they always want their kids to do the same. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Usually, if kids do something better in their life compared to the parent does not really acknowledge it or give credit to that. It kind of like goes as a neutral thing, even if it was a good thing, if it was added on. So the kids always, in my opinion, a kid that is applauded by the parents is a kid who just meets the exact criteria of what the father did in his time. Because in the mind of the dad, he did certain things, and he was, some sort of, he achieved some sort of success. So if the kid does the same, it's good enough. Now, if he does anything else on top, it's just bonus, right? But if he doesn't do those and he does a different route of positive things, of succeeding, of achieving, it doesn't count. It still does not count.
Yeah. I feel also, unless it's something that's huge.
Yeah.
You know, like for example, I see so many athletes, you know, like they've been, for example, trained by their fathers, or they are there supporting. And I think the most important is they've been there since the beginning, supporting them since the very, very beginning, since they were like a little kid, you
Yeah.
know? So they were kind of expecting this. They were expecting, obviously, the kid liking this, and they weren't expecting such a huge outcome. But at the same time, there are so many parents that they get, like you said, away from their sons or daughters because they're achieving way too much, and they feel kind of ashamed a little bit, or they feel like they didn't do enough.
Usually, fathers want their son to follow their footsteps. If you look at it historically, every person who had, for example, in business owner, in people who had small businesses, they always named it after themselves when they founded something. What was the next step? To change that with and sons.
Yeah.
Smith and Sons, right? Locksmiths. So he wanted their kids to become
What they are.
what he is, to continue his way, to continue his legacy. So if the sons now make umbrella, it's not good enough. Even though it's, it might be even more profitable, but usually it's not really favored.
Yeah, like
you
for
know,
example,
just emotionally, especially. Cristiano Ronaldo has said this about his son in an interview. I've seen he was asked that, well, we've heard your son has said he wants to be a goalkeeper, if anything. And you can see his face goes,
yeah,
of course I
support
I
him.
support it, but
I prefer him to be, of course.
on the other side,
Yeah.
you see that there is a preference.
Yeah,
So if you meet the preference,
yeah,
you always be the favorite child for the rest of your life,
yeah.
right? If you don't, it's very hard to justify. You need to justify it now. You need to say why I'm doing something else.
Yeah,
But if your dad is an engineer and you become the same engineer, same kind of footsteps, you don't need to justify. You already get a tick of approved. You're approved. You did
yeah.
well. You did great, son.
But for example, for sure, you've seen the movie Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. His dad was a dentist, really, right? Like very renowned dentist, and he went out of the house one day and he told the son like, "You will never do anything," and he created the chocolate factory, right, which was like famous in all the world. And this is a movie, but just because it wasn't what he wanted him to be a dentist as well.
That's the biggest pressure. That's one of the biggest pressures parents put on their kids. They want them to be like themselves.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, because the fathers or the mothers, they go through a path of 20, 30 years in their own life, and they see all the errors they made. So they want their kid to just be a upgraded 2.0 version of them, doing the same path without those errors.
Yeah.
And this is where the problem comes. And people want to live their own life.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to live their own life. And that's where the trouble begins. A lot of times, a lot of kids, I know their dreams get crushed because of this negativity. The family is always saying, no, it will not work. It will not work. If you say it will not work that many times, it will not work. In Persian, we say خواستن توانستن است. Means if you want something, you will achieve. And the opposite is true. نخواستن نتوانستن است. If you keep saying you will not, and it will go down, and you go bankrupt, it will. Guaranteed it will. That much negativity, of course it will. The guy will have self-doubt every 4 hours, twice every workday. So you know what I mean.
Am I doing the right
yes,
thing? Am I doing the right thing?
It's.
Am I gonna make it?
Exactly. And even if there was a chance, there was some hope, it's all gone. It's definitely out the window.
Yeah, I think I've told you this some time ago, but the example of Kanye West, he always says it. My mom told me I could do anything.
Yes.
And he became who he was, the greatest rapper in history.
Yeah.
And designer, and he has met with presidents. And because if you have someone who's supporting you from the beginning,
It's
I
very
think
true.
that's the most important
It's
thing.
very true. For parents, I think the biggest help they can ever do is telling their kids they can do things,
Yeah, giving them
explaining them,
wings.
giving them education, giving them knowledge, all of this, giving them advice, but not forcing the advice.
Yeah,
It, see, advice is there, you know, it's like me calling a consultant. You know, you can get 15-minute consultation with a lawyer, with a psychologist, with whoever, right? And then at the end of it, the consultant says, if you don't do this, I will not work with. It was a consultation. I just wanted to hear your say. It
yeah,
didn't mean your say is what we go with.
mm,
That you're getting it mixed up.
yeah.
You were just an insight. You're not the plan A. Let me hear you what you have to say, what they have to say, what this person has to say, and at the end of it, make my own decisions in the direction of my passion. Most importantly, opposite to Kanye West, we have a rapper in Iran, which he is famous now. He's actually very famous. That's because he's very good at it. But in some of his songs, he even says, "When I told my dad I want to become a rapper, he said, 'You don't call me ever again as your father.'" Right?
That destroys a kid.
Yeah, and this guy went through to become a doctor. Right? He's a doctor. He's a doctor. I think he's a specialist as well. I think I'm not sure, but he's definitely if not specialist, he's a GP. He's a doctor or pharmacist. I'm not sure, but he did his education in pharmacy or in medicine. So he followed medicine, followed his passion, which was doing music on the side, and now he's both. But you see, he didn't get support. Never mind not getting support. He got the opposite of support. He had, you know, his fan base was throwing stones at him. It's exactly that. When your dad, look, it's a big burden, especially for guys. When your dad says you cannot do
Especially for
something,
sons.
you break. You break from inside. Elon Musk can partner with you the next day, you will not make it because your dad said you can't. That his word is greater than Elon Musk's word because Elon Musk is just a figure. Your father is your identity. If he says you cannot, you cannot. Elon Musk and Steve Jobs and all of them can come back to life, and the ones who are alive come to, in a board meeting and say, you know, treat you like a king. It will not go anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, as long as you're look, tennis player Alcaraz. You
He
know,
was in my mind the
every
whole time we
time
were speaking
he
about
looks at
this.
his father, the energy the father is transferring to him is greater than the coach.
Yeah.
Every time, look at his stand, look at the father's reaction, look at the coach. I beg people who can try to see if Alcaraz, after great points, when he looks at his box, he looks at his coach or his father. I
Yeah.
guarantee you, it's his father. It's
And that's
nothing to be
why
compared. The father is not being paid.
mm,
He's there out of
pure
his
love.
pure love.
Pure love.
Nothing else.
Yeah.
The tennis coach is there because you had potential, you had sponsors, you had talent, you had money, you had all of this. Now he's a great friend of yours. Okay. But your father was there when you were nothing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
And he
that's
will
why
be and if he's gonna be there when you're still nothing. If he goes bankrupt, if he goes to jail, you think his coach will not sign anyone else for the rest of his life and sit there next to the door of the jail? No.
Oh.
The father will. The father will step. My father will. My father will step outside the. If I go to jail, he will stay outside the door of the jail till I come out.
Yeah.
He will stay there.
Yeah.
You know, every day going to someone to talk to get me out one day earlier.
Mm.
This is the difference. So that's why the negative and the positive, both of them, is much greater.
Mhm. That's the example that was coming to my mind when I was speaking about athletes that their parents have supported them since they were very, very little. And you can see all the photos of Alcaraz with his dad, you know,
Yes.
going to Roland Garros, to Wimbledon, like, you know, his dad traveling with him and taking him to these places because he knew how much his son loved it. Not how great his son was going to be, but how much the son just loved it,
Yeah.
you know, and he was just supporting his dream,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So that's where it comes.
Yeah.
He plays a huge part. Okay. Do you think people feel pressure to reach a certain income or title by a certain age? Let's say obviously the age is 20, early 30, right?
Yeah. The pressure. Yeah, with social media especially.
Yeah.
Before that, maybe people didn't know what's the guideline. Now there is a framework. Forbes announcing youngest billionaires chart every year.
Yeah.
Doesn't help. Well, it helps the ones who are billionaires.
Yeah.
It doesn't help the ones who are trying.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah. I
So
think with social media, everyone's getting a realistic perspective of life on how their life should be,
yeah,
you know, especially everyone because of social media, they feel like they really need to be someone, you know, like they cannot be someone just working in an office 9 to 5 and that's their life. Because before, for example, so many people were doing that and they were like happy with it, you know. Now everyone feels like they need to just make it.
that was the lifestyle of 1950s, 1960s till early 2000s.
Yeah.
And I tell you why, because it was, see, every idea that comes in new, it's good. That's why it comes in, right? Going to university, getting a steady job, working there in that company or in that field, especially for 30 years, retiring. This was the blueprint. It worked. It definitely worked. It was the first time this huge corporation became a thing. Before that, it wasn't. There was no such structures. We see today a company like Bosch has 400 something thousand employees around the world, right? And there is structures. You know, I've as an ex Bosch employee, I know the structure, how it was, the trainings, all of that. Um, you can see that today's world will not necessarily meet with it anymore, and that is because the only thing great about that was not everyone had the opportunity to go to universities, and also companies were taking care of their employees in a lifetime matter.
Mm.
So when you were employed, you had job security. These two are both out the window today.
Mm.
They don't exist anymore. Everyone has a university qualification. It
Mm.
became a thing that everyone could gain,
Access.
right? What is the in developed countries? What is the rate of people who don't have a university degree?
Very low.
I don't have stats for that, but we can ask ChatGPT. I would say it's like on 3%.
Yeah.
So when 97% of the society has a university degree, it's not you anymore who's different, is it? So it's nothing.
Companies have options now.
Companies have
If you
options.
go, someone else will come.
Yeah, they do that. They do that. Project finishes to their best assets, best human resource assets they have. They say from tomorrow don't come in anymore. After 18 months of a project, the project finished. They know in their pipeline there's a project coming on in 3 months. They don't pay 3 months salary to them just to keep them. They let them go. In 3 months they rehire. If they can't get the same staff again, doesn't matter to them. They just get new people, train them. It's cheaper for them. So to work for 5 years in a company and one day they come and say it's your notice time. You don't need to come in anymore. We will give you out of pity, or I mean, it's out of company policy. But I find it's pity, right? It's because of your service. We give you 1 month, and they don't even want you to work. You're supposed to work in those 1 month. They don't want you to.
Mm.
I say go home. Just maybe 1 week to transfer everything and to put the closure towards everything because you might not get to do it today. That's it. And they let you go. They buy you flowers, and I know in Australia they even give you a champagne bottle.
Really?
Yeah, it's like I got fired pretty much. Why am I getting a champagne?
That's the
It's for
worst thing
your
you
great
can
service.
give.
Well, if I was such a great service provider to your company, why you letting me go?
Yeah.
Why you not keeping me?
Yeah.
Because there is the way it's working. They're controlling their costs. They can't just keep these people in the office when there is no project. So they let you go. They change. I know people who moved, the great engineers who are in Australia for 10, 15 years. I think they've changed. An average employee has changed maybe 6 companies. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. And my aunt is trying to tell me find a good company. My aunt went to one company when she graduated at 22, and she was there for 35 years. And at 30, she could have even completely retired and go not work. did another 5 years to earn more and be occupied because she didn't want to go stay at home, you know. And that was the case. Even at retirement, you just applied to stay another 5 years, and they accepted you.
Yeah.
For me, as a new, young new workforce, I joined at 20. After 5 years, at 27, peak knowledge, peak youth, they let me go.
Yeah.
We're not talking about the same worlds.
Mm,
You're talking about another planet at this stage.
literally.
So this is very demotivating for people with the fact that there is no job security. You know, the whole thing with being an entrepreneur is that you don't know when you lose your next paycheck because there is no paychecks. You're self-employed technically. So the challenges come with it. Maybe you don't get a project, maybe you don't get a new contract, and you don't make money, whatever goes on, right? So it's the same case as an employee today. Companies look at you and they see your bank statements today, and they say, okay, you're making this much with according to your pay slip, so we give you a 30-year mortgage on a house, right? They know it, we know it, everybody knows it. I can lose my job tomorrow. The fact that I have 6 months pay slip doesn't mean I have job in the next 6 months. I can get fired
Hmm.
in the next 6 months. I actually got an unsecured loan once in Australia, and in the form when I applied for it, they asked, "Do you see yourself being in the same position for the next 7 years?" Because the loan was 7-year loan to repay it, unsecured cash loan. So the unsecured means there is no security. For example, a mortgage is a secured loan because your house is the backup. So if you disappear into thin air, well, they can confiscate the house, sell it, get their money back. But when they give you cash, bank transfer, and you lose it in the casino tonight, and you now disappear, well, the bank has to run after you now. So because there's nothing they can't get it back. There's no security. This was unsecured loan, and it was just a question: do you see yourself in the same position with the same sort of income? And I clicked yes. I think a month after it, I lost my job. I didn't get fired, and I didn't get but my life plans changed. And I still have that loan. You know,
Right.
so it's not the same system anymore. So people going into jobs as an employee, it's very demotivating because at the end of the day, see, the pros and cons was you were working for someone else, but you were steadily working for someone else. You didn't have to care about what goes on in the management. Well, now you're working for someone else, but still, whenever things go wrong or the company management, it just drops back on you. So you have the no security like a self-employed, but then you don't get the big profits either. You're just like in the middle.
Mm,
You just have two items on your negative list.
yeah.
Disadvantage, no advantage. The only advantage is you're in a team. You get good trainings, of course. You get a lot of insights to how things work. But that's it. Other than that, you don't get this long-term job security or long-term wealth. You don't get either. You don't make a name for yourself. You don't get your name doesn't really rise up
Yeah.
in big corporates. It's very hard for you, to get up. I saw a podcast interview of the 11th joiner of Google. I don't remember his name. I'm bad with names. But he was saying how easy it was. He was like, well, I was doing this, and they called me. They were like, you're very smart. You're on top of he was an engineer. So we want to have you in the team. That was his job interview, a phone call. He joined Google. And at the time, he was saying everyone, because he worked in a bigger company at the time, and Google wasn't a big company. This is when he was starting. So everyone was telling him, you're making a big mistake. You're leaving this company with all the perks it has to go to Google. Who's Google? And he was saying how it was a gut feeling that he had to go, and he saw projections with it. And back and forth between jobs, he says the same. He's always happier to work somewhere that is more fruitful. And when I say fruitful, it's about you shouldn't worry. If you're a good employee, you shouldn't worry about losing your job. This is a big thing. So let me give you the example. to compare this. Being in a company that, even if you're a good employee, at any time, because the project finish or any other financial problem of the company, you're losing your job, it's exactly like saying you live in a good society, and just by being a good citizen, normal good citizen, at any given moment, the police can just take you to jail.
Yeah.
You never know when it comes.
Yeah. True.
It's how would that world look like if you could just end up in jail, not doing anything, not knowing why? Just you were doing your job, you're acing it, you're being a good citizen. If they can just take you, what's the difference between that and a person who's not doing so well? That becomes the question, right? That's the biggest thing. Now employees who are losing their jobs, and they have to go through the process of getting. I'm not saying there is no jobs, because, for example, a country like Australia has very good employment rate, or very little unemployment rate. So you can, there's a cycle. People are jumping from this company to this company to this project, back and forth. They're not going homeless. They're not going jobless. But the issue is that you're sitting at your desk and someone comes to you without you doing anything wrong, says, everything, and they will tell you, they will give you that champagne bottle as a token of appreciation of how good you are.
Mhm.
You're great, but sorry, you cannot. It's like, imagine being in a relationship that no matter how good you are, one day that your partner just breaks up with you. And she will tell you, or he will tell you, you're amazing, you're the best partner I could have. That's even worse. You're like, so I'm the best and you're breaking up with me.
Yeah.
How is that logical? I don't see it. Just because the company will save money, or there's other things. Let's not get into it. I know other things, but I don't want to name them,
Mm.
because we don't want the conversation to go there. But this is the truth. This is the truth. When it comes to why young people are all becoming self-employed, why they all want to try their one in a million ideas, because it's safer. At least it's within their control. The wheel is in their control. If they go downhill, at least they can look in the mirror and say, I went downhill.
True.
Not that I was great. It's just my manager of my manager of my manager of my manager, who's sitting in another whole continent, decided we need to cut funding for this department. And I lost my job. When things are out of your control, people feel more depressed. When things are not in your control in life, if you don't decide, for example, that someone close to you leaves you or passes away or something, some bad news like that, it always stays with you, because you always question why. There are people who are religious or non-religious, say, God, why did you take care? Why not me? It's a very famous thing, right? If I don't make money at the end of the year, financial year on year comes, for end of financial year, I go talk to my accountant. My accountant says, you don't need my services because you didn't make money this year. So there's nothing to look at. You
Yeah.
made zero, grand total. Go home now, right? And I, dig a little deeper and see why I made zero. And the reason is because my ideas didn't work, my projects didn't work, my company didn't make money. I'll live with myself better than when I see a third person decided it for me, right? So this is why a lot of people are going towards making their own decisions compared to 1950s, 60s.
So much more.
Yeah, and this is the reason why there was structures. It was so easy to go get a university qualification, get your knowledge intact, apply for a job, work in the system, not care about anything that goes around. You just focus on you're a civil engineer, you just focus on that. But when you make a business, you have to care about the marketing too. Even if you're a civil engineer, in that area, you're working in that area, your company still needs marketing, your company still needs accounting, your company still needs a lawyer firm, HR, all of these things, reception, all of this, you got to take care of them. You can't just say, okay, I'm a civil engineer, I'm making a company, and I'm a civil engineer, so I don't care what happens with my accountant. You got to care. You have to, you know? You have to care about all these things, little things, you have to pay attention to them now. So it's
True.
harder, but this is why everyone's going towards that. Whoever you speak to. Look, I graduated from a very good university. Most people I was speaking with, I said, which company are you going to work with? Most people, we had people who went to JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, all internships that were great. Bosch, Amazon, top of the fields. These were sharp students. Nothing wrong with their mindset. Very high IQs, EQs, on top of everything. Most of the students, when I talk to them, personal experience, I said, who do you want to work with? Who do you want to work at? Which company? They said, I don't want to. I want to make my own.
Yeah.
And this didn't happen at my 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 30 years ago, when my father was graduating. Everyone was applying to great companies.
Yeah.
Now no one does. You know, people are applying to JP Morgan. I had a close friend in uni. He applied to JP Morgan. He got a salary package. It was crazy. I'm not going to name it, but it was a lot. It was a lot in London to work for them. A lot of other perks that came with it, except the salary. It was a good package. He said no.
Mm.
He went to do his own business. He's still struggling. He didn't become a millionaire, but he rather goes through that path. This is what's happening with top university students.
Yeah.
Unless they want to go academic or research, which is different.
Yeah.
But if they want to do industry work, they don't want to work for anyone. And these are the reasons.
It's very sad, to be honest.
Well, times change.
Well, times change.
Times
yeah.
changed. You know, things became. There goes back and forth. You know, we're going more to what was there in 18th century, 19th century.
Yeah.
You know, start of 19th century, mostly 18th
Yeah, like
century.
the Industrial Revolution.
Yes,
when everything
we're going
started.
back to that. No, we're going before it again. When people, you know, today, if you want to make a watch, right? You're a watchmaker. You have the passion for it. You want to make a watch. It's very hard to make a name out there. You need great sponsors behind you. You need all of that, right? Because most people go buy watches from names, from brands that are already out there. But if you go back 150 years, look, all of these watchmakers that are running today, and they're great brands, huge, they all started in a little workshop with one man. One guy started it. It's his name, literally. He started it on his own with his hands, you know, making one copy at a time. We're going back to that. People are graduating, instead of working for big companies, they're making these little companies to work for themselves. They're making their own shops, their own businesses. And it's good. It's good.
It's a good way to look at it.
This gives more innovation. When this happens, you get more competitiveness in the market and more innovation. When the whole market of US groceries is with Walmart, they can do what they want. They can market manipulate easily because it's just them. They're too big. They've in the past 20 years, if you look, they've bought brands that were doing better than them and bankrupting them. This is huge. This shows the manipulation they're trying to do in the market. When you buy a brand that has a better vision, you take a little bit of it and you just shut it down. You buy your competitor, you shut it down. This is bad for innovation. Everything is handled from the top of the pyramid, and new ideas won't come in because they don't need new ideas. When you take this company, everyone has to go to Walmart. You cannot go elsewhere, right? If you can't go elsewhere, if they put their prices higher than it's worth, what can you do? You can either buy or go home, right? But when these small businesses are coming into the market, they will bring the prices down because they expect less profit margins. They are more innovative because they think, okay, we don't have the name to compete out there, so we need to add great services to compete out there. So this is great for the market. I don't think it's a bad thing. It's just times change, and maybe we do the cycle back and forth. So we have to see. I mean, we will never see because these patterns take a couple of decades, if not century.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I hope we are alive for another couple of decades.
couple of decades, yeah, but
Say a couple of centuries? No, not really.
yes.
Unless they make something to make people immortal. I don't think so.
I don't want to live forever.
Yeah.
It's enough.
I don't want to live forever, but whatever I live, I want to stay young.
Yeah.
That's my
70 years is
yeah,
perfect.
I live
max.
70 years, but looking like a 20-year-old. That's what I want. I don't want to get
Well,
old.
No, you look good.
Okay, thanks. So, yeah, that was it for today, guys. And thank you for your knowledge. And we will have more next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.